Okay, and that's safe, was just in case the game crashed or something, because there's been a bunch of stuff happening recently. Now, the Transamur plebiscite. With the resurgent Russian state gaining full control over the once disputed Trans-Siberian Railroad from Mongolia, commercial contacts have increased massively with the Transamur Republic, and Japan's economic presence in Transamur has started to fade in comparison with the inflow of massive Russian investment. The economy of Transamur, a rebellious state created by a Japanese incursion during the Russian Civil War, has started to experience serious economic difficulties thanks to the relatively unrestricted influx of our cheaper goods coming through the recently liberated Trans-Siberian Railroad. Leaders of its influential business community have approached the Russian government in secret, suggesting that it may be in their best interest to rejoin Russia, and that they could probably organize a popular vote on the issue. So, we have a few options here. Can encourage them to plan a plebiscite. There is no need to vote. All Russians must be under Russian rule. Claim Transamur. Or send a detachment of troops to Vladivostok to dissolve Transamur. Now, we're not going to be quite so aggressive as to just say, you are now part of Russia, deal with it. We will encourage them to plan a plebiscite, but if things don't go as our liking, we have the Russian army on the border standing by to encourage them to change the results to our liking. But we will encourage them to plan a plebiscite, at least at first. They will allow it, but rig the results, they say. The government has seen reason. They have agreed to give the people of Transamur an election to determine whether they want to rejoin Russia. However, we have been informed there are certain irregularities in the process. Irregularities? How dare they? Send the troops to observe the election. And sorry, I just bumped my microphone. And that thing that I said doesn't happen very often with Japan has happened. They've gone with a strong Russia would be a better ally than little Transamur. And Russian troops arrive in Vladivostok. A most unexpected turn of events. The Japanese have decided that their interests lie in China rather than Siberia, and have offered to acknowledge our control over Transamur and offer us Chinese Central Asia as a sphere of influence if we help them in their military operations against the Chinese. Okay, I will agree to this, but I want northern Sakhalin as well, which is these couple of islands here that Japan took off of Russia in the first Russo-Japanese War. Give us those islands back and we'll agree. Okay. Japan has agreed. Very well, we are friends now. Transamur is Russian. Facing the threat of Russian military force and deprived of the support of the local capitalists and the Japanese, Transamur's government is ready to collapse in the face of the popular will. We can do what we like with Transamur, but it has been independent for a long time and will be difficult to integrate into our country. Well, I don't care that it's difficult. We will put their leaders on trial and incorporate Transamur into Russia. Now, the Euro-Asian bloc. The Japanese have accepted our offer to form a new global alliance. Together, a new global alliance has been born that will shape the fate of the world. And this time, we shall win. And go fuck yourselves, please. Germans and other people. I don't care what you think. But on that note, it's time to start strategically redeploying our troops from the Far East over onto the Ukrainian border. And get us into position for a potential war against the Ukraine. So we're going to layer troops along the entire border with Ukraine. Let me see there. Starry Oskal next. You will take that bit. These guys will hang out in Kursk. Now let me see. Five divisions here. Still in the process of redeploying everyone. Chelm it is, then. And next, we need them in Tarnopol. Okay, that should cover Ukraine. Now we have a few divisions here that I'm going to strategically redeploy down into the Mongolian region. And those guys, they're going to be in charge of anti-partisan duty in the area. So, no worries. Anti-International Pack and the Port Arthur are available. Anti-International Pact. The destabilizing influence from the syndicalist movements grouped in so-called Socialist International was a constant worry for many world leaders. After the formation of the new alliance bloc between Russia and Japan, Russia sought agreements with Japan for a 5-year period with automatic prolongation. Is that even a word? Prolongation. I've never heard it before. To share information and assist each other in containing and eradicating the syndicalist influence. And yes, we will seek agreement with Japan to help each other destroy syndicalism. Let's see what they say. Scouting focus. Yes, we will grant them money. So they'll give us some cash to help out. That's nice. Would have preferred a promise of military aid, or that they would declare war on the communists if the communists declared war on us, kind of thing. Which I guess is kind of what our alliance gives us, but still. I'm also going to start research into interwar battle cruisers. What other things are there? The Port Arthur. What would this require? Republic of China is a puppet, and the Republic of China owns Port Arthur. Wait, Port Arthur is owned by the Japanese, isn't it? Yeah, it is. So that decision can be put aside for now. We're not about to get anything of the sort. But Japan has signed the International Pact, which puts us in a pretty good position overall. Trade relations between Russia and Japan. The Japanese Committee for Pacific Trade suggests that the trade between our two countries isn't profitable due to tariffs imposed by both countries. If we abolished the tariffs and facilitated the procurement of licenses, we could convince the Japanese government that we want to expand trade between allied countries, even persuade them to do the same. Lowering the tariffs would significantly increase the importance of Russian-Japanese trade. Alright, I can agree to that. If we're allied with the Japanese, which I have to admit is something I never expected to be saying, if we are allied with Japan, then we can agree to lower the tariffs and give them special trade treatment. Yes, our allies need special treatment. And Japan decided to go along with it. Very nice to see. Very nice indeed. Russia controls Siberia. Stability comes back to Siberia, where the barbaric Mongols and the treacherous Admiral Kolot have been trying to drive Russia into chaos. Now our Siberian border is much more secure, and we can strengthen ourselves in Siberia. Great! Focus in international policy. The vast territories of the Far East, the snowy mountains of the Caucasus, and the sandy steppes of Central Asia are now under the control of Russia. Our former lands are returned to us. Our justice is nearly finished, but we still have some unresolved issues in Eastern Europe and the Middle East. Russia has to choose where to concentrate their attention next. Maybe it's time to stop expanding. Stop expanding! What is this? Switzerland? No, we will focus on Eastern Europe next. Okay, major worker strike. Major worker strike broke out in one of the country's largest industrial complexes. Union leaders say they will continue their fight until the government gives in to their demands. Depending on what those demands are, I may be inclined to accept them. Why don't you ask? Let's see. Aircraft Interceptor 1940. Because we may eventually want to have some planes. We'll especially want them if we do fight the Germans. Vladivostok is Russian. Great Far Eastern port city of Vladivostok is Russian once more. There are many ships in the harbor, including the bulk of Transimir's old navy, as well as those owned by private individuals or companies. Some of these could be adapted for military purposes. One of them is a tanker, which is large enough to be converted into a basic aircraft carrier. And what we're going to do in this case is we will seize and convert all the ships in the harbor to give us some sort of navy in the region. Japan's going to be a little miffed for some reason that we're converting the old Transimir Navy, but they like us enough that we can get away with it. Japanese corporations are investing in Siberia. And European direction. They have decided to start acting in Eastern Europe. Stakes are high and we must be extremely careful, as we don't want to start a war with Germany over our former lands. We must decide on what our goals will be. One mistake and Europe will be plunged into chaos. Alright, so we have three options. We must restore our dominance over the Ukraine and Belarus. We must secure the Baltic governments as well. Or we will restore our borders in full. And I think we want to restore our borders in full. I mean, we've come this far. We want to restore the borders and glory of the old Russian Empire. And we will act in that regard. Someone dies. Seattle recaptured. Constitutional monarchy in Spain. That's nice. Russia-Japan is profitable again. And more IC. Excellent. And Finland has joined Mittel Europa. Well, that could have gone better, but as it happens, war is inevitably coming between Germany and France. And if Germany wins, we will go to war with them to get our stuff back. If France wins, then Germany is irrelevant, and we will basically curb stomp them and pick up a few of the pieces, just as the war is ending. So it doesn't matter either way. Russian investments in Manchuria. Recently, the Minister of Foreign Relations of the Fentian Republic has forwarded the proposition of tightening relations between us. We know from confidential sources that our mining companies are interested in Manchurian deposits of coal, copper, magnetite, and other various metals and minerals, and they will need our support. We have to decide whether or not to support our corporation's investments in Manchuria, thus helping us to strengthen relations with them. We will help them. We'll grant them a little bit of money to strengthen those relations, and maybe get some resources out of it. Who knows? 1939 Motorized Infantry Division. (1935) Mountain Division. Now, I think. Another Field Marshal has died. Field Marshal Sherbachev dies. A hero of the Civil War passed away peacefully in his manor near that place yesterday. Memento Mori. I couldn't even pronounce that name, so I wasn't going to say it. And more of the same. We are losing a lot of generals now. 1939. It's only 1939. And now Finland is really getting on my nerves. Let's see, semi-modern destroyer. We will next go for super heavy battleship. Advance our naval tech a bit more. United Baltic Duchy had Russophilic movement established. I wonder what that means, but I'm hoping it means they will have either A, a civil war, or B, try to join us in some way. Now, what was that last tech that researched? I wasn't really paying attention. Not semi-modern destroyer. There was another one. Basic decryption devices. That was it. I'm an idiot. But I am going to begin research into atomics. It wouldn't do for Russia to not start learning how to make atomic weapons, now would it? Basic hospital system has researched. We're 1 year away from being able to do defense in depth. All of these are a bit too ahead of time. Basic pharmacological, basic pharmacology, 1938 though. That we can do. And that's my next one. Interwar battle cruiser. Spanish Civil War is over. Good to see. Now, let's see. First strike. We're going to go into the air doctrines a little more. So, you research first strike for me. Even though I don't think the Air Force is going to have much of an impact in the future, it certainly couldn't hurt to start researching it. Shelling of Breton, and I don't know what... Oh my goodness. France and Germany are going to war. How did this happen? Let me see. The shelling of Breton. It's some kind of event that Germany got, and they went with, this is an outrage. They went with demand an apology. France went with, this is an outrage, mobilize the troops. And Germany got an event about French mobilization, and they went with, this means war. So now France and Germany are at war. And the British have joined on the French side. And, to those of you who'd forgotten this, the Netherlands are totalist, and they have joined on France's side. So the Dutch will probably get raffle-stomped by Germany rather quickly. This is an interesting outcome, because I do not usually see the Second War start this way. Usually, it starts over Alsace-Lorraine, which France wants back. That's the way it typically starts, but over some troop posturing on the borders and some event about a shelling of what I can only assume is either a city or a warship. I've never seen that event before, and This is very, very interesting. Be interested to see how it goes. That second Welt Creek. Let's see what this lets us do. Okay. That gives us a chance to use the event and declare war on the German Empire, which we're eventually going to do, but I'm not in any hurry. And Canada, they've declared war on the German Empire, as opposed to the Union of Britain. Interesting. I've never seen that before. Never seen that before. Investment in Siberia. Siberia is once again a stable Russian province, mostly due to the defeat of the Mongols in Transmor. Now we can enact economic policies to develop Siberia and efficiently use its resources without the threat of the Japanese or Central Asian tribes. Thanks to our pro-capitalist orientation, many Russian companies have begun to invest in light and heavy industry in South Siberia and the Urals. So we lose some descent and get a lot of industrial capacity and production of resources. Excellent. Japanese ambitions. For months already, the Japanese Empire has expressed their ambitions towards establishing a new order in China as part of their expansionist policies. Today, the Japanese ambassador in our capital secretly informed us that Japan is ready to make its move against everyone who dares to oppose the new order, and they are requesting our support for the matter. So we can either tell them, we can give them the green light, or tell them the time isn't right yet. Let's see here. Well, if I have to, I can redeploy my troops from the Ukrainian border. And I'm fine with that, but right now I'm heavily focused on reclaiming my territories in Eastern Europe. So China's really more of a distraction than anything. So I'm sorry, Japan, but I have to ask you to wait a few years. Once Germany and the Middle European Alliance have been dealt with for good, then I'll be all for helping you tear China a new one. But for now, I'm afraid the time is just not right. Commune of France annexed Flanders-Wallonia. Okay, German demands. The German Empire and Great outraged by our supposed support of separatists inside the United Baltic Duchy, issued a series of demands which request cessation of all support towards various separatist groups inside the German Empire and its member states, or face unspecified economic and military responses. How shall we react? How else? We shall ignore their feeble threats. When have we ever cared what Germany thought anyways? New tech has been developed. And we'll start research into Marines, even though I don't actually think we'll use them. I want to have the capacity to do so if I have to. Germany has backed down. A civil war in Ethiopia. Interesting. UBD nationalists are acting for support. The separatist movement, which Germany accused us of supporting, is now actually asking us for support. And we shall offer them our official support. And finally, Turkestan has been properly integrated as part of Russia. Took long enough. Now we're actually decreasing our descent by a tiny amount, finally. But the nationalists in the United Baltic Duchy were defeated. Quite unfortunate. I was hoping to retake that territory through a coup. Let's see. Nikolai Trubskov, I have no idea how to pronounce that, publishes The Principles of Geopolitics. Published in the late 30s by him, now considered a cornerstone of modern geopolitics. In his book, the Russian conservative philosopher and politician envisioned a new Russian empire, defined not by the tsardom or religion, but rather by pragmatic control over the Eurasian continent. His ideas were further developed by Lev Gumilov, thus creating the so-called Eurasian doctrine. And it is indeed an interesting doctrine. And apparently Germany is having some issues with T.E. Lawrence again. Have fun with that, Germany. Have fun with that. Now we have just a bit more industry, and then we will start mass producing divisions, because that is our planned strategy for fighting the Germans. Basically, throw numbers at them. The traditional Russian strategy, right? Tech developed. Workers' strike. Some workers in our cities have organized themselves and begun a strike, disrupting production, yada yada yada. I will fulfill their demands. We have no reason not to. Let me see here. Lithuania and the United Baltic Duchy are German puppet states. We're still in the middle of trying to integrate Poland, which, as you can see from the amount of dissent, or revolt risk, rather, that we have in the area, the Polish are fighting us tooth and nail to avoid integration. Not that I blame them. We did invade their country and take them over by force, after all. Union of Britain declares war on Denmark. Well, that's going to be interesting, to be sure. Now we have finally started deploying divisions again. No, and in terms... And for Germany getting help in the fight, they've chosen to just contact Austria. So the Austro-Hungarian Empire is throwing their divisions into this fight. And Lawrence got away. There is the possibility, of course, that he could get killed, but that didn't happen here. Now, though, we're getting to more and more divisions that we can deploy. Commune of France is giving the Netherlands Flanders, annexing Wallonia, and the Netherlands made a puppet state. Okay. And if you're wondering why I'm not bothering to read these events, it's because they're generic and rather boring, and I've read them before, so I'm not going to keep on reading these every single time they come up. Okay, major peasant unrest. Agree to their demands, I think. Integration of Eastern Galicia. Thank you. Don't know where that is, but it's ours now. That's some more industry done. We have 2 more things of industry that should be finishing soon. And indeed, I'll start some more production of troops. Give us access to some more of them to throw at our enemies when the time comes. We're now doing pretty well as far as upgrading goes. I will soon have upgraded all of my forces, and then we'll build some more and they'll have to be upgraded too. And Siam's not going to change the name of its country to Thailand. Such a pity. I really like it being called Thailand. Well, things are heating up and getting quite hectic. But I think we have reached a fairly solid end point for this recording session. And I'm just going to save, and then I think I'll call it here. So, it's been DarkPhoenix Ninja 92, and you have been watching my Let's Play Kaiserreich as the Russian Empire. And war is officially broken out. And from the looks of it, Germany is losing. The French are fast approaching Berlin, and Germany is pretty much solely eastern at this point. So next time, we'll see what happens in the war, and hopefully Japan will stop asking me to fight fucking Qing Empire, so I can focus on redeploying my troops for the inevitable war with the Germans, because that's going to come soon, because the French are sweeping across Germany, and we want to be able to hold back the Austro-Hungarian Empire while we take what was and will become again ours back from Germany. So thank you very much for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time. Catch you then, folks. Later.